Hey everyone, welcome to the first talk of Chapter 7, and today we're talking about first and second declension adjectives that end in ER. Okay, these are not very different at all from adjectives that end in US, like bonus, bona, bonum, or magnus, magna, magnum. The only difference is that these adjectives end in ER in the nominative, and we have a few adjectives in our chapter that do this. For example, liber, libera, liberum, which of course means free. It's the root of the word liberty. We also have miser, misera, miserum, which means sad or miserable. It's the root of the word misery. We also have noster, nostra, nostrum, which means our, so a possessive adjective. And we also have sacer, sacer, sacra, sacrum, which means sacred or holy. Okay, and there's really one important thing to notice about these adjectives, and that is whether the adjective keeps the E in its base or whether the adjective drops the E in its base. So notice liber, libera, liberum keeps the E. Miser, misera, miserum keeps the E. But if we look at noster, nostra, nostrum, so noster drops the E out of its base in its feminine and neuter forms. And sacer does the same thing. Sacer, sacra, sacrum. So sacer also drops the E out of its base, meaning when you decline the rest of these adjectives, then you decline them without the E. Okay, and really the only way to know the difference is to memorize the vocabulary entry. So that's really, really important that you do that. Okay, I'm going to give you an example of how these are declined. And so we'll start with liber. Okay, I'm just going to set up a chart of all 5 cases. Remember, adjectives can be declined just like nouns can, and so they exist in all 5 cases. And adjectives, remember, have masculine, feminine, and neuter forms. So we have liber, libera, and liberum, and then liberi, libero, just like a second declension masculine noun, liberum, and libero. Okay, so liber is going to modify any masculine noun. Okay, and then libera will look just like a first declension noun. So liberi, liberi, liberam for accusative, and libera for ablative. Remember that macron's really important there. And then in the neuter, liberum, liberi, libero, liberum, and libero, just like a second declension neuter noun like bellum or templum. Okay, so the only real difference between adjectives like bonus and magnus and malus that end in us are that the nominative ends in er, okay, just like there are some second declension nouns that can end in er, and just like some second declension nouns, these adjectives either keep the e or they drop the e. Okay, now I'm going to give you an example of a plural noun, or adjective, excuse me. And this time we're going to set up our 5 cases again. Okay, so we have masculine, feminine, and neuter. and this time we're declining in the plural, and I'm going to use the adjective sacre, which means sacred. So sacri, sacrai, sacra in the neuter. Okay, remember sacre drops its E. Sacrorum, sacris, sacros, and sacris. Okay, in the genitive, sacrarum, sacris, sacras, and sacris. Okay, so it looks just like first declension, I, arum, is, as, is in the endings, and then in the neuter, sacra, sacrorum, sacris, sacra, because it's neuter. Remember, accusative and nominative are the same in neuter. And then sacris for the ablative. Okay, and so if you're going to use these adjectives to modify nouns, remember that they have to agree in case, number, and gender. So if we wanted to say a free man, we would say wir liber. If we wanted to say a free country, we would say patria libera. Okay, and if we wanted to say, okay, a free building, we would say edificium, which is neuter, liberum. Okay, so really the only two differences are that these adjectives end in er, and some keep the e and some drop the e. Okay, and that's all for this lecture. Thanks for tuning in, and see you guys next time.